if it's not common knowledge, I do have an insider source from TAPS that knows what the undercover vehicles look like.
Oh. I can't think of anything else outside of the fact that I lost my camera stand.
Wait, I used to watch a lot of podcasts a lot of the time, and they usually just make a pun in the beginning, like, what's slugging my in?
What's slug? I don't want to slug my in. I refuse to slug my in. Who up slugging their in? Anyways. Hi slugs. Welcome back.
Hello.
This is episode 4 of the Slug Interviews podcast. Our guest today is someone very intertwined with the functions of the dining halls, so we're going to get into a lot of that today. But before we start, we're going to open with our Slug Ins segment. Samantha, you said you wanted to highlight the Oaks College?
Yes, I'm a student at Oaks. I've been here for 3 years on the same floor, somehow, in the same building, too.
Anyone who manages to keep housing for longer than just your first quarter.
Seriously, I was on the verge of being homeless over the summer, and when I didn't get my housing through the first pass system, my day was ruined. Yes, but I have been in communication with like a lot of the workers over here from like Oaks Cafe and from Porter Dining Hall. I've been involved in Porter Dining Hall before like Oaks Dining Hall was up, and I had worked there and applied there before I even knew that Oaks Dining Hall was a thing. So those have been my two avenues of just like eating and being involved with workers on campus. And last year around October, I got my first job on campus, which was working at the Porter Dining Hall. To me, Oaks and Porter are basically the same thing.
Considering they're like pretty close to each other, it's hard to kind of differentiate almost. It's like this wing of the campus.
Yeah. And for some reason, even if Oaks Dining Hall is up, I still go to Porter to eat, which is, but my knees are not the best for that.
Walking on campus is definitely a struggle. Yes. Before we move on, I do just want to highlight, outside of Oaks itself, this recording space is very interesting to me due to the rat wall. Yes. I want...
This has been here for years. I have no idea who made it. But I enjoy it very well. Shout out the creepy rat with the lightning bolt hands and the, what is that, Gardevoir?
I think it's like the male one. Okay. Because you like the Pokemon lore drop. The like first evolution of like I'm gonna put the photo up. I don't know the name of the Pokemon, but if it's male, then it evolves into that one. If it's female, then it evolves into the Gardevoir or whatever. So somebody was very specific about their intention when making the whatever this lounge is art. They're committed to that specific version of Guard. We're getting way off topic. I apologize.
You're fine.
Just to get into the reason I decided to have you on was because in close to the same way as me, I worked at the dining hall for 3 years. I started my freshman year, and then I kind of was removed over the summer. But Samantha, you said that you have also been working at the dining hall for a long time. What's your general like expertise in the field?
Well, prior to starting my job at the Porter Dining Hall, I worked at a small cafe in San Francisco, which is where I'm from. And in general, out of the two jobs, I preferred that one. Then again, that isn't a high bar. The Porter Dining Hall is a place where I have given my knees, my back, and my heart. And it is something that I will never recover from. It was an ordeal of an experience.
You don't thrive in the dining halls. You survive the dining halls.
Truer words have never been said. I will say, All of my coworkers there were wonderful people. Loved them to bits. All the full-timers were amazing. The managers are shit. Always will be.
Oh my.
But, you know, they had their moments too. They're very polite. I'm on a good speaking relationship with them.
I think most people have to, otherwise they get fired. I remember being poor.
Yes, I remember being poor. But you know, it's always typical. You know, like you step one out of line, they're going to be throwing you out. Like one of the things that's always very typical of like people on the line when they're serving food is that they can stand there for hours and hours on end. You can't sit down on the tables because that's a sanitary violation or whatever. And you don't have seats in the back, and that's one of the things that really got me.
One of the things I've always wanted to vouch for that I used to go to everybody about was like the concept of like, shouldn't we have like a little, like just a itty bitty stool, like any type of sitting measure? Because, you know, you're there for like
Hours.
yeah, depending on when you decide to take your break. If you don't, if you know, you have to eat early because you are like a student that can't like afford to get breakfast or whatever at a specific location, and you get there and that's like your first meal. You take it real early, and then you have like more than 3 hours of standing without any like break. Or if you take it too late, you're just standing the whole time, and then you get like 5 minutes of reprieve before you then get off of work. It's not standardized.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm. And as a result, or even sorry, messed up my phrasing. Well, okay, yeah, no. I think this works because it's not standardized, but it's also not case by case because there's no any type of general recommendation or system to how it works. So it's just a bunch of confused people taking breaks at times they think might be good for them and then being punished.
Exactly. And this system has irked me consistently. Like I've said, my knees have gone because of this. Plus walking back and forth from everywhere that I go because of crap public transportation. But other than that, one day I just had enough and I just grabbed a seat from like the area where the students eat and just brought it behind line and just sat there while I was serving people. I was fine. I wasn't in the way of anything. I made sure that I wasn't obstructing anyone. I got up if I did and I moved it.
We all know how important the flow of any like food like location workplace is.
Exactly. And my manager made me, a person who was limping on my shift, take it away to the place where it was.
I don't even understand like it wasn't even that the manager like took it back themselves to like keep you working. It feels like a statement that they were like, you need to return that. And that's so fucking, that's like really slimy almost.
It really is. I wonder if they'll watch this.
Hello.
Hello.
Samantha does not like you if you know who you are. Just to keep that apparent.
I never liked you. But yeah, that was a really big statement. It's a sign to everyone, and I pleaded with them very politely, like what explain to me why I can't have this, and they refused to do so. It was just, you can't do it, you can't do it, you can't do it. It's against the rule. Show me the rule. Where does it say that?
But even then, you can't advocate for yourself that often. Just to get into like the general labor protections that the dining hall workers have, like it feels as if there's no way to advocate for yourself ever, because there isn't. The dining hall workers are not unionized.
They're not. No, we don't have what the full timers do, which is a union. AFSCME 3299. Shout out, great people, love them. Gonna go on strike soon, probably.
Let's cross some fingers.
Cross your fingers. But if the people at the pickets tell you anything, yeah, they're gonna do it. Yeah, students don't have a union whatsoever, and all we have is relying on our managers to be nice, our student managers in particular. Now, I will say this, student managers, realest people ever. They're very nice. At Porter, they were some of the nicest people. It was, yeah, great, just great people. I still like follow them on Instagram.
Well, because they're you for the most part.
Yeah, they're us.
Yeah,
They just get paid like 50 cents more
oh god.
and have to do more work.
That's one of like my if you don't work at the dining hall and you see the like the blue shirts and the green shirts and you're like, there is a fundamental difference in workload, because you see the green shirts running around all the time. They're doing a lot of the managerial work that the managers should be doing, on top of like a lot of the logistical labor surrounding the blue shirts. So, but they get paid like 50 cents more or like $1 more, I think. I forget the disparity, but it's crazy the difference in compensation.
It's like I got paid $16.50 and they got paid I think $17.50, so it's literally just $1 more. And they have to deal with the schedules, they have to deal with payroll, they send emails out to people, they got to find someone to, you know, call in if like someone doesn't ask to call out for the schedule. They're doing so much more work.
Sounds like they're doing the work with the managers, but the managers
Are. And here's the thing, at Porter, the managers like constantly got in the business of the student managers whenever there was going on. But there was constant communication between me and the student managers. Like when the adult managers aren't there, I'm actually productive. I can get things done because they're not bothering me.
No, that's so real. I feel like there was this is anecdotal, but there is a what do you call it? There's a student manager at the library. What is it? The what's that cafe called? McHenry Library Cafe.
No, the Global Village Cafe. Is that what? Yeah, Global Village Cafe is the one in McHenry.
Okay. Well, at Global Village Cafe, there was a student green shirt who was telling me a story about how they like fully took on managerial tasks. Like I'm talking like because there's the scheduling and the stuff like that, but there's also logistical like email stuff in terms of even the stuff that goes on above that type of other logistics. And they were doing that work for like no increase in pay, but they were doing it at like they were able to wipe it out in a faster time than it would take for like the logic being that the manager would spend all day at their desk seemingly doing work, but like still having stuff to do, and then the student manager could clear all of the stuff they were doing in like half the time that the person was spending at their desk. So it's like they can not the green shirts can not only do your job, but they can do your job better than you can do your job, which is nuts.
And the thing about that is, I talk to my folks at Global Village Cafe, and they tell me that like a lot of the management in the first part of this quarter have just been MIA.
Oh, we gotta get into. You finish your thing, but we really have to talk about these layoffs.
Okay, go. Yeah.
Well, no, I was gonna say you finished.
Okay, yeah. At Global Village Cafe, the management for a long time has been like MIA, the management. So it's just been like student workers and student management just like running everything. And they all tell me that like, yeah, they're gone, but at the same time, I'm thriving.
Well, what do you call it? With some staff gone, there's also a lot of blue shirts that also aren't there. From what I found, okay. So if you're new to the concept of how the dining hall staff works, there are three types of workers outside of managers. There are the student blue shirts, there are the student green shirts, but there are also both there's like a subcategory. There's like the protected full-time workers that are associated with AFSCME, but there are also the temp workers. And what I have found based off of like the just asking around with people who I knew who work at the dining hall, there are like no temp workers. Like the staff at most of these dining halls has been cut like in half, and as a result, there's like 4 people to like what feels like 4 to like 6 people to a shift when there'd usually be like 10 plus to staff at a time. They are taking on numbers that they without like standard numbers for a normal dining hall with not with insufficient staff. They are what do you call it? They're short staffed. They're short staffed. Just to get into that, we're gonna cut to a clip real quick, and we're gonna come back because I chatted with somebody at AFSME that gets into this a little more. So we're gonna be right back.
The university is understaffed right now?
Yes, of course, and all the departments, but where I experiment most is in the dining service. What that means is workers have overwork, they have a lot of injuries because they don't have enough support. And imagine 1,500 meals and 4 hours, and then one cook and one assistant cook, or one senior cook and one cook cooking all those food, so they have an injuries. We are short staff. Why we have a short staff? Because Panda Express outside of the campus pay $30 per hour, and dining services pay a cook 21, 22 start. If you have 3 jobs or 2 jobs as I have, that is a huge issue, and of course UC can fix if they leave the greedy they have.
They just decided to be more competitive in what they provide people.
Yes.
Okay, and we're back. But the general thing I wanted to get to there is just like the lack of effort on the side of the university to even like provide any incentive to workers to try and keep them around. If anything, they're trying to like get rid of as many as possible at the cost of the quality of the university. I mean, everyone's been talking about, or at least everyone I've talked to, I've always mentioned the deficit, because I think that's one of the $107 million further down the drain that's going to cause an obvious drop in quality. But the drop shouldn't be in the most important places like housing or dining or whatever. I don't know, it should go to like inflated salaries of upper management. That feels like Cynthia can take a year without having another mansion fully funded by the end of the year.
Precisely, or all their investments in BlackRock and weapons manufacturers that are going towards Palestinian genocide, for one. That would be splendid if my tuition and labor didn't fund the murder of Palestinian children.
Mm-hmm. Very easy. Again, and when I go out and I interview people about this stuff, it's so easy. It'd be the easiest thing to just go like, hey, we're gonna put our portfolio somewhere else, because I feel like there's so many other businesses to invest into. There's so many other places to invest into. We have to specifically be targeting the weapons manufacturers. Like, what the fuck? It just feels like such a pointed move that at some point you just have to be like, the people making these decisions are fucking ghouls. they're
Oh, certainly.
They're engaging in ghoul behavior by bombing children. I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, no, it's just I to get this a little more on track, I think we can talk about the union now, because we've kind of set the ground floor for the kind of shit condition the dining halls are in right now. Sorry, let me be a little more generous. Struggling conditions that a lot of the dining hall workers are facing right now. But as I've been told, there is a union that is working on these types of issues.
So, full disclosure, I quit the dining hall in September and have not worked there since. I quit because of health reasons. I had a heart attack. I had to quit because of that, due to the stress of having to deal with, organizing school and the dining hall at the same time.
And as we've discussed before, going to the dining hall is not something that the university ever wants to keep as something that you can do continuously. It is actively harmful to stay there. I think, in my opinion, I feel like they're actively trying to keep the turnover rate as high as possible so that whenever they get the new batch of freshman employees who don't know anything about labor rights or being exploited because it's like their first or second job, they're not going to be ready. And then by week like 9, they're going to want to leave instead of work to, improve working conditions.
Absolutely. The job, and one of the biggest difficulties the union organizing committee has had, which is what it is, we're not an officially recognized labor union, we are an organizing committee that is trying to get that to happen, is that the job is so shit that people just want to leave. And fair enough. Like,
we don't blame them.
We do not. No, I would be a hypocrite myself if I would be chastising people. But yeah, the freshmen I've seen and a lot of the veterans have, I don't really know, like, they know that the dining hall is messed up. Like, I was at this cornucopia, and they told me, like, consistently, yeah, I want to join, I want to get involved, I want to do things with the union, because this job sucks. I just worked a dish shift, and I lost my mind because of all the heat and the steam. The C9 pots people, I love y'all. You deserve all the love. Yeah, the union itself, the goal of it is to organize every single market, dining hall, cafe worker. Like, if you're a student worker that works with food on this campus, aside from per cafe, because that's private, if you get paid through cruise pay, you are a part of the union. And that is a really big project. Like,
It's just to like give a grasp of the scale. Like, just thinking about it, the dining halls are like
Massive.
they're massive, and they're far away from each other, and the staffs don't communicate because they're you are focused to your one location that you choose, and then you go back to that as often as possible, because eating anywhere else is like almost a task, depending on
it's very decentralized. Not everyone is necessarily in the same area. Like, you'd think all of the Porter people would work at Porter. No, the people at Porter all lived off campus in the mountains. So you can't really like go up to Porter and like hang out at the lounge and see them, like talking about shit, because they're all the way out there. And I got class. So trying to organize on this campus is a nightmare and a half because of that. And there are like 800 dining workers in general. So trying to do that is really difficult. And I'm sad to say that the union has been incredibly burnt out. A lot of us have lost a lot of steam, especially over the summer. A lot of us had to quit. Like, there's like 2 people who are still working at the dining halls in the organizing committee, I think, that are like active and doing things. And
which is why it's important to get new blood.
Yes.
If you are a viewer and you know people, talk to the people at the dining hall, communicate that. It would probably be good to, I'm sure people have already seen it, but Student Dining Workers, SDWU on Instagram, if you're looking for those specific resources, but
there is also a mixer coming out on the 22nd, from 12 to 4 in front of the C9 dining hall. Our folks in the Work Student Solidarity Coalition and SDWU are going to be there. If you want to get involved in the OC and organizing for the union in general, please come talk to us. Look for the tall woman with the French bob. That's me.
Now, Samantha, we can get back into this a little later, because I feel like the other stories that we're going to cover feel very integrated into the stuff that we've been talking about. But just to get into the news stories that we've been trying to cover this week, one of the biggest ones that I think feels underreported. I mean, obviously, one cannot decide how many eyes got on a specific Instagram post unless you have like the insights and stuff like that. But our friends at UC Intel Network put out a report about how, and I assume you might have seen this already, but one of the students who is participating in the UC Campus Band's ACLU lawsuit, was recently coaxed out of their apartment with a false fire alarm and had their phone confiscated in order to by UCPD. I want to make that very clear. Not even like the actual like just our on-campus police to actively search for what they believe to be a felony on their phone. Which, by the way, if you don't specify what you mean by felony, you're kind of just saying we're looking for anything on your phone to incriminate you, which is so vague and so like gross. But
Typical pig behavior.
it feel I didn't want to say it, but it's very police intimidation type tactics. Again, very mob-like behavior.
Well, the police are a gang. They just work for the government.
Yeah. See, I don't like saying it because I want to believe that like there's an inherent sense of justice in this world.
Nah.
Fuck.
We live in a settler colonial white supremacist state, man. Like they are the lapdogs of capital, and it is genocide.
But that's so stinky.
Yeah, but you gotta smell the shit to know it's a shit. You know?
But just to get back into the topic of the story, like in my brain, because one of the other interesting things that I wanted to note about it was that they're not even one of the students who were banned. They are serving as a plaintiff for other students who were actively impacted. Ooh. So this isn't even a matter of you were like at the protest and you like the excuse for you did a quote unquote I mean, I'm sure the police are like, if you went to protest, terrorists or whatever, but they can't even use that excuse because this person is like very tertiary in terms of the actual people in the case, and they're like working an outside angle to try and find any reason to incriminate these people. And I think that really gets into what I've also talked about with a lot of people this week in terms of there is a lot of permanent damage as a result of the Palestine protests, to the extent that police feel justified in extending their like control or methods of intimidation on people because of the way that they were able to go fucking hog wild on unarmed students during spring. So like I feel there's some like weird shit going on in terms of free speech.
Yeah, the unionized grads who are affiliated with the UAW recently had a theatrical picket about like a trial of all the chancellors for their actions at the strike last quarter, and they were actively intimidated by the police. Like they walked up to them and told them that, hey, if you use a bullhorn, we might do some shit. Because it's a violation of the penal code. They got into a back and forth with the grads, but they're very much like soft, threatening people. And of course, like at the October 7th rally, someone was literally violently arrested because they had a bullhorn. So it's absolutely, the police are in full force. Like I've seen like undercover cop cars constantly like just unmarked.
On top of the very clearly marked vehicles that keep showing up at all of the any type of free speech extension.
And with high rock security
accompanied. We need to talk about that because they look so silly and they're everywhere. There's no just to complain a little bit about the general aesthetics of your fascism. it's just a black t-shirt that says security on it and there's like one yellow stripe on it. And
it doesn't even say higher.
No, I know.
Where's the brand?
That's what I'm saying. There's no drip. There's no drip on these security guards. If you were gonna do a fascism, at least do it in good clothes.
It's like the whole point.
Yeah, no. If you're
they don't have good ideas, but they've got
we do fascism for the drip. Is that what? Oh no. Okay, we're gonna get out of here. We're gonna cut to a clip, and then we're gonna get into the content of the clip afterwards. Okay.
Like, just how many weapons do you think the UCPD has right now?
That's a very vague question, and I don't necessarily know how to answer that. Then again, I am a freshman at the school. I haven't been around that many police officers on the campus. I've only seen a select few amount of police officer vehicles, so I don't necessarily want to make a false estimate. However many it is that they do own, I hope to God that they're all using it rightfully and they're licensed and they're well-trained individuals.
100%, with, 20 plus assault rifles, 2 drones, a couple of launchers on them.
I would hope to God they know what they're doing with those. I would hope to God.
Let us hope. Let us
That's
hope.
all we could do.
All right.
If it's not common knowledge, I do have an insider source from TAPS that knows what the undercover vehicles look like.
Oh.
That'd be very relevant.
She worked there like 2 years ago for a couple months. She'd helped clean all the vans and stuff, and all of the undercover vehicles are like a gray SUV.
That's really weird.
But, and you can tell, like when the people come out, you can tell if they're undercover, but they are just straight plain gray SUV cars.
Okay.
If you see them, there's a high chance because they do patrol quite often. Like she said that they patrol a couple of times a day when she was working in TAPS. So I'm assuming now because of all the protests, there's going to be a higher chance that they're patrolling more often.
Right.
So just keep that in mind.
That's very scary.
Yes.
Just entirely unfucking just function on the what is it? Is it Argentina? The quote unquote disappearances.
I believe that was Chile. Yeah. Yeah, with Augusto Pinochet.
Yeah. Just very sweep in when you least expected it.
Yeah, but you know who trained Chile? The Americans.
Ooh.
So, it's kind of...
It's all tied.
It's all connected.
Thanks, American imperialism.
Of course.
Anyways, just get back to it. The other story that was in discussion was the final meeting to approve the 2 new drones for UCPD, and what do you call it? Just the sheer shock that people would give upon me telling them that we now in total have 4 drones and 20 plus rifles just for this what feels like definitely now a militant police force that just can be anywhere in unmarked vans on campus.
Yep.
What the fuck? That's fucked up.
Yeah. You know what they say? The moment capital is threatened, fascism is what results.
Very easily.
Yeah.
But what do you call it? Another important thing that I'm just telling you because if you didn't see the episode last week, I talked to Sebastian Valdez and I believe their name is Alex from there. They were interns with AFSME, and they were talking about how one of the very legal methods of protest still here, and obviously we can get into this kind of discussion of the legality of protests, but one of the most heavily protected as it pertains to people having the right to protest is labor protests like that, where it's directly connected to the institutions as much as that is such a scary pretextual label to have to put on before you do something that's inherently against the institution that you're with. It's still it's a lot safer in some ways and a lot easier to get into as an outsider if you have the protections of there's a lot of adults outside of the university, or there's just sadly, in a sad way to put it, a lot more of a university defended method of protest.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that contradict with, in terms of what people should be allowed to do, but
Yeah, like the labor protests that recently, like the informational pickets AFSCME was doing, is much more protected than just like students with picket signs, basically. Yeah, that's very true, and I think that's due to not so much that the university is institutionally in league with AFSCME, more so that like AFSCME just has the power to protect themselves, and that there would be a much greater public backlash on the part of like a union compared to just like a couple of students on campus. Because like AFSCME is everywhere. They are in every UC. If a single worker was threatened or retaliated, there will be blood.
and if you piss off the people that like feed you or clean your fucking toilets, you're gonna get the backhand of labor protections.
Exactly. Yeah.
But from what I remember about a post that SDWU put out, Samantha, dining hall workers have some protections in regards to association with the AFSCME protests.
Yes. So that post was specifically based off of a material released by AFSCME, which is like a 2-sheet long paper. You can look it up. I think it has the URL. Student workers, you have the right to strike with like AFSCME 3299.
I'll put the link in the description.
Yeah, they. It's a dated document. It was from a strike a while ago, and basically it says like AFSCME has universally approved a strike. They haven't approved a strike at the moment. They're voting on it. They're going to do that around the 28th. So by November, things might go popping off. We'll see. But again, not a lawyer. But my understanding of the law is that the UC employees are anyone who works for the UC, like anyone who is paid by the UC that is an employee, meaning that they are entitled to the same legal rights as any employee under California law. And as such, one of the rights employees have is to honor the pickets of a union that is actively on strike. Like, it is not legal for a company to make you violate a picket, to my understanding. So that would mean that if the dining halls or the markets or the cafes go on strike, that student dining workers can just not show up to work and feel fine. Now, of course, that takes significant financial risk on the part of student workers because this is our income. This is what we need to survive. And that's why I think that it is the job of the union to actively create like a strike fund where we can pool resources from the community to make sure that we're all right, we get groceries, we can pay for things like medicine in case things go wrong, so that when this strike does happen, which I think it will, we'd be okay. But that's the only thing that can happen if, people join the union or they go with WISC. I know during the student intifada, the WISC very much was like worker aid. You donate to us, we'll give it to folks who have like lost their wages at like Iveta or the various associations that are in like what's that area? The Bay Tree Bookstore, that's it. And yeah.
Yeah. Making sure that people stay with a lot of the student-led orgs protects students in a way that foundationally works differently to something even like AFSCME, as good as it is, it's not something that immediately meets the needs of students in the same way that student orgs do. Exactly. And I think that's why it's so important to even highlight these types of things because, I'm sure people who are listening to this just heard about WISC for the first time right now.
Yep. WSSC _ local 501 on Instagram. Follow them. They're good people.
Stuff like that. Was WISC at Cornucopia?
No, they are not a registered org.
But that's what I'm saying. Stuff like that is if we're not sanctioned by the university, that doesn't make a difference to the importance of it or the help that it can provide.
They are autonomous, and they are homies that have been helping with the union a lot. The Worker Student Solidarity Coalition, great people.
What would we even? I feel like we've ran through all of the news. but maybe to put it back on topic of just the dining halls in general. I feel like I really want to hop back into, like, for people who don't understand what it's like to work at these dining halls. You know, to my understanding, when you are like a new freshman, your impression of the dining hall is, I know where the tables are, I know where the food is, I know where I sit down. But outside of that, there's like a whole other network of things going on behind the scenes that people don't consider. I think one of the important things, just to get back into the flow of, like stuff like the dining halls being understaffed, is how that impacts like the chef labor, how that impacts quality of food. I was discussing at the I believe the AFSCME rally on last Wednesday. And this was a conversation that happened off camera, but I talked to Janet with AFSCME, very nice person. But they were like, yeah, it makes me really sad because there aren't enough people, so you get overworked, and the amount of time you have to what do you call it? Do things like specific meals is lessened, and as a result, that like directly impacts variety and quality of meal. Because if you don't have other people to do other shit in that kitchen, you're putting out the same like oven baked, like single sauce chicken that you can put out in the allotted time. But if you don't have the right people, like, you can't put out anything else besides that. I don't know. So at least to me, it feels as if quality of conditions for laborers automatically increases the quality that you see in and outside of the like work area at any location, really.
Yeah, that's very true. Like the crews at the dining halls in general, like the full-timers specifically, they're always shuffled around every year. Like all of the folks at Porter, Juan, Jose, Marta, everyone, like Bodo, everyone is just like scattered to the wind across the different locations. And I miss them all so much. Like I go to Porter and this is like no one's there anymore. Except for Narciso and Bodo, love them. But they, like, it's like you said, all the crews are different. And if you're not working with the same people, you don't know who's the same capacities, and the food suffers as a result. And a lot of the practices that we have at the dining halls aren't really taught to us. Like, like we have very little training when it comes to sanitizing things, when it comes to cleaning things, when it comes to making things. Like, we're just kind of, the full-timers are the ones that do. They know what's up, and it's kind of just like on the fly. They're just supposed to teach us what to do. I love the full-timers, but a lot of the times they don't be doing that. And it's not their responsibility, it's the UC's. And it's our management's job.
If I can get into this, and this is a part that doesn't get covered very often by anyone, really, if you don't like know or work at the dining halls. The training is like nonsense. It's like 2 hours of just pointing out things and saying what they are, and then immediately moving on, as if that explains like any of the minutia of how to work that specific station. So you like get through all of this bullshit, and then you get to the start of the year, and it's people who, like you said, are learning the job on the fly, which is crazy when you're working with like really like extremely high heat conditions, or the like you were saying, the sanitization practices for like the shit you eat out of, which is like that. No, don't do that. I find it crazy that one of the like earning your stripes, like methods that they have at the dining hall is like getting burned by the heaters at the fucking dining hall. Like, oh, have you gotten burnt? Where's your scars at your extremely unsafe workplace? I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here?
For those who don't know, the heaters that are on the lines that are directly above the food that you see when you walk in, a lot of the time, what happens to students is that their arms get burned when they try to serve people food by accident, and it's a common joke for people to like show their forearms and be like, there's your scar, there's my scar, I got this at 87, I got this at 89.
These are their battle scars. That's fucked up.
Plus, like you said, with the dish rooms, when you're dealing with all of this hot water, it's very likely that you will get hurt. And a lot of my friends have gotten hurt as well. We're at such a pressure, especially around closing time, to get things ready, that like when you have the metal dishes that we're all cleaning that are just fucking boiling, the gloves that we have to have on just melt completely onto our skin, and we're not given adequate hand protection when it comes to that. So like if we got gloves, that'd be amazing.
No, well, here's the thing that I also really want to get into is that because I assume that was at Porter.
Yeah, it was at Porter.
Yeah, 910 has gloves. Yeah. There's like 2 pairs for what is usually 4 people, which is something else. But the difference in quality at every dining hall is not standardized. Yeah. There is no like outside of general health codes that they need to keep up with, which sometimes it really feels like, how are they passing these tests?
Very much a suggestion.
But like again, stuff like equipment and like employee practices are not the same from dining hall to dining hall. And considering that it's food service where things should be standardized for the sake of like safety and health, the fact that it isn't and people are just kind of playing it by ear until somebody gets hurt is nuts. It's more like manager negligence, because who's gonna check the like water temperature or the quality of safety during something like a rush if you're sending emails? Something like that, and obviously this work still needs to be done by somebody, but
it can be done a lot better. If we had gloves, if we had more staffing, if we were paid adequately, if we were actually given benefits like what the full-timers get, which, fun fact about the dining halls, the reason we work the hours that we do is that if we worked any more throughout the week, the university would by law have to give us benefits like sick leave or medicine or workers' compensation if we get hurt on the job. And like I know a lot of people who were just like working double shifts like 4 days a week. But one of my friends was a machine when it came to that shit, because they just needed the money. So
I feel, just to kind of get to the heart of it, is that the people who like are doing that are doing it because the dining hall, at least within like public interpretation of what it means to have a job while in college, is that it will be able to sustain you not only to like stay on campus but also get an education. And that it feels almost a necessity to work those hours in order to be able to be a student. And when those like standards aren't protected, or the amount of time you need to work is inflated in comparison to like your general budget and how much time you have to be a student, it's not something that should be like minimized in terms of importance. Student workers are obviously as integral to the functioning of this university in the same way that the full-time ASME protected workers are.
100%.
And they don't have that kind of avenue.
Yeah.
So just to kind of wrap things up, obviously, thank you for coming on.
Mhm.
But SDWU, Student United Workers Union, is one of the methods to bringing back the importance and protections that come with being a student worker on campus.
Mhm.
But do you see, and you can kind of get into the more specifics of it if you want, but what do you believe are the methods of, like, helping if you're not a student dining worker, helping if you do work with the student dining? What do you feel is like the ways of getting back that control in terms of people's benefits and, anything regarding being a student worker?
Yeah. If you're a student worker on the job, the best thing you can do at the moment is just try to make everything a little less miserable. Like, talk to one another, learn each other's names, grab people water, and, just be there to support them as best they can. We're all in this shit together. If you want to get into organizing, reach out to SDWU on Instagram or the email, meet up with people. I am not a student worker, and I want this to be led by student workers, as it should be, and what it used to be before we all quit.
Very recent to sound.
Yeah. And if there are problems on campus, if there are problems on the job, make sure that everybody is there to witness it. And if there is a shared grievance with each other, go to the boss together and yell at them collectively. Because the more and more people do that, the more and more they're going to get scared, like, oh, okay, maybe we should listen to these guys, otherwise they might do something real drastic. And in general, if you're a student worker, show up to every labor action that is currently happening on every union on campus, whether it be AFSCME, the UAW, or SDWU, like the one on the 22nd. Show up. It's a joint thing with WISC and SDWU, where we are going to do some very fun stuff that I'm sure you all look forward to, and just get people involved in organizing. And if you are a student, when the strike comes, probably it will, don't cross the picket line, don't show up to work, support your fellow workers in trying to sustain themselves during the strike, and yeah, that's all I can think of off the top of my head. Oh, join the Divest Coalition, join SJP, join Anak Bayan, join Gabriella, join Black Liberation Corps, join any student org that is actively involved in trying to dismantle this university, because that is what will help this university become an actual university that would serve us and not weapons manufacturers.
Well, with that, I think we're going to wrap up. But thank you again for listening in. Thank you, Samantha, for being such a fantastic guest. And we're going to, just sign off. So, yeah. See y'all next week. Bye-bye.
Boy!